right. Hello, everybody. It's John.
Hey, it's Paul.
It's Eric.
And it's What If Geeks. And we're recording, today is June 11th. Jeez, why did I write June 2nd? See, I'm just done.
You lost some time.
I've stopped working, and so I'm like, nope. Okay, I'm just like, I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't care. Whatever. It's June 11th, but I don't know when you're going to hear this one. We're recording a random episode just to see if we can kind of hold it in the vault for a little while. But this episode is going to be all about shining moments in shitty movies. This random title I popped out when we were talking about, we were brainstorming about show ideas, and it stuck with all three of us, and I'm dying to do it. So it's funny, too, because I kind of tried to Google it earlier, and the first 4 or 5 articles I came up with had like almost the same exact one, so I was kind of trying to get away from them a little bit, but you really can't. But yeah, so the idea is all three of us are kind of like, cinephiles, and we love a lot of cinephiles. Don't worry, the cops aren't coming. We love our superhero movies and sci-fi and whatever, but in order to enjoy the really good ones, we've had to suffer through a lot of shit, and especially as 3 older geeks. Back in the day, you had to suffer through a lot of shit. So, as we're talking, I'm sure we'll kind of remember some random shit. But even in those shitty ones, there were like a few fun moments or something that was really cool in them, And the one moment that I kept talking about with these two guys, I'll start it off, would be, I guess, in Batman vs. Superman, which is kind of like one of those almost universally panned movies, really, by this point, because of the whole Martha, what did he say her name?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to go off on a tangent. Yeah, there's a lot to not like about that movie, especially because you had the chance to have it be epic, and it fell way short of epic. I've said a few times, and even in our discussion before this, that overall, I just don't like the movie. There are a bunch of moments in it that I do like, but overall, I was just like, I was really disappointed because they could have done so much more, And we've said time and again, even in BE before Eric, we used to talk about the DCEU and how I think you and I fixed it twice or 3 times. So we feel free to go off on a tangent and help us fix it the 4th time.
Still waiting for that check.
Yeah, it's not coming. But we just complained about how they screwed up and they tried to play catch up with Marvel, and they couldn't do it because you didn't have to. The fans would be there if, so that was one of my biggest problems with the movie, was that they were just rushing everything along, and you didn't have to do that. So, but for me, one of the best moments in that movie is when they kind of like open it really with like that flashback to Gotham, and you can see Superman and Zod fighting in the sky, and they go crashing into a building, and the entire building is starting to collapse, and it's very like ground level. It's shot from the ground level, so it's like all dust and debris flying everywhere, and people are just running for their lives. And Bruce Wayne pulls up because he's trying to follow them, figure out what the hell's going on. And the building they fly into is one of his, so that's kind of like what sets up the whole fight. But the cool part about the scene is when he drives up in there, all these people are running for their lives, and all he can think about is his people in that building, and he's the one person that's running into the debris. And that's one shot that, to me, I thought was really cool. Just him, like, he disappears into the smoke and the debris trying to save people. And it just, like, in that 1 second, they pretty much set up, hey, look, this is what everybody knows about Bruce Wayne / Batman. He's going to risk his life no matter what. So that was a really cool scene in there. And the runner-up would be, like, when he maybe accidentally runs over Superman with the Batmobile and it fails miserably. Because the way they shot it, like in the trailer, it looks like he purposely guns for him, but in the movie, when you're watching it, it almost looks like he comes around a corner and Superman's standing there. Kind of like, you know what I mean? So it kind of like he almost looks shocked for a second. So like they didn't know how they wanted to play Batman and Superman. Like one's not going to be a good guy or whatever. So they made it look like it was an accident almost. But the Batmobile like bounces off of him and careens off of him. Like it's great. That part was just hilarious because like Superman don't even budge. He just looks at it like, all right, great, nice. Kind of more of the, did you just throw a car at me? You know. So, all right, how about you, Eric? Since Paul looks like he's deep in thought over there.
Hopefully, I won't steal anything from Paul. I see you have Superman Returns on there. I was gonna do Superman 3 though.
Ooh, what the hell did you find good in that one? Okay, go ahead. This I gotta hear.
All right. So, I guess a small movie recap, right? Because this was probably one of the most terribly written things ever. Mm-hmm. Well, at least for DC side.
Yeah.
So,
but don't worry, Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. Hold my beer.
Yeah.
So Clark's going back for a reunion or whatever, right? And gets involved in some bizarre ass love triangle with a drunk guy, and I don't even know where the hell that was going. But then Richard Pryor pops in, right? And he's the evil criminal guy that's gonna extort money out of some South American country at the time. I don't remember what the hell it was, right? And then,
he was like even just the computer guy because he wasn't
computer
really
guy,
like the bad guy.
He wasn't like he wasn't.
He was
the
working
bad
for
guy,
them.
But yeah. He was doing the bad things for them.
And then he has a change of heart,
which were also ridiculous. But so he reprograms a satellite or something to cause a tornado or some complete garbage.
So all of a sudden it became Cobra and the Weather Dominator.
Yeah.
It was great.
And it's Superman saves the day. This is the point where they realize that Superman's going to be a problem, right? The Man of Steel is going to ruin everything for them, and they got to do something about it. So somewhere along the way, they get a deep space telescope, and they're trying to figure out like the formula makeup of kryptonite, and we've almost got it, but there's one fucking missing component or whatever. What are we going to put in there? Fucking tar or something, right? They pick something random.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the hell it is, right? So then this
Styrofoam.
makes up a synthetic kryptonite that doesn't kill Superman, but it turns him into like a total asshole.
Yep.
I mean, talk about badly
Super
explained
dick.
movies. This is
Yeah.
the real plot. I mean, and it's
Yeah.
just terrible. But okay, so
Yes, this would fit into that new category we're going to do. But
so he runs off and causes an oil spill, and
It was tar because he was like Richard Pryor somebody was smoking, and he had to say, and he's like,
oh yeah, it was all this bad stuff in cigarettes. Yeah, that's what
tar. Yeah. Wow.
Okay, but so the moment I was going to say is actually decent is when Superman gets drunk or whatever the hell it was, and he splits into
Superman,
the Clark Kent and
Superman,
Superman, right? And they fight each other. And of course, Clark Kent wins, which in itself is sort of because it's not like they're really fighting, right? Superman would kick Clark Kent's ass in any real thing, right?
Yeah.
It was almost in the mind, but it wasn't.
Right.
It was just this thing. And then after that, after he beats him, he pulls off, it's a clean Superman, right?
Yeah.
That's like the one redeeming sort of
Yeah.
moment in the film, and then it goes on to be shitty again because then he has to go have a face-off with a fucking computer or something, right?
A computer woman.
A computer woman, right?
A woman that gets absorbed by a computer.
He can win. So that was it. I was just that disassociation scene, and then he wins, and the clean Superman
he beats the
comes
shit out of
out.
the
It's actually-
Energizer Bunny or
Yeah.
some shit. And
there's a scene in that movie where Superman's sitting at the bar getting drunk, and he's like, and he's flicking peanuts and like breaking the bottles of booze behind the bar, and then he starts breaking the mirror.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, there were a couple of good. Yeah, okay. There
It's
you go.
not. It's
been so long since I've seen it that
It's just funny.
It's
It's not
just atrocious to
meaning
me.
like that has depth to it, right? Like the two parts of him fighting. Yeah.
All right, how about you, Paul?
So I've got a couple. These are some things that I found when I Google searched this. So you'll probably have them too. But I'll start with one of the best scenes from A Phantom Menace, which is a mess of a movie, and we've talked about this when we talked Star
The
Wars.
Phantom Messes.
Yeah. Filled with Jar Jar Binks and too much of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a whole trade war. That was, okay,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing that movie needed tons more of.
Really horrible Chinese characterization, whatever the hell. Those two guys.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Oof. Go ahead. Anyway, sorry.
What
it
this
needed
movie
more
needed
of?
more of was Darth Maul.
Darth Maul, yeah,
Yup.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And the Darth Maul, his double-sided lightsaber scene.
Yeah.
With Obi-Wan. Well, not quite Obi-Wan yet. And
Qui-Gon
Qui-Gon,
and,
yeah.
Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
I mean, Obi-Wan was in there for a little bit of the fight.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah,
That's
that
amazing.
was
That's
epic.
Probably the best lightsaber scene of all the movies, even though I don't like that movie that much. But
yeah, no, I mean, and
that
we've talked
fight
time
scene-
and again. The prequels were just like,
It's not nearly long.
there's some grander fight
That's what she
scenes,
said.
right?
Bam, and there's my one for show.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's some grander ones, more grand. Either way, there's some bigger ones, but none of them.
Now
are
he's
really-
worried about English.
Yeah, none of them are really as they really drew that one scene out in a good way, and
Yeah.
and like there's like more than one suspenseful moment as things are going through, and they kind of have a pause in the middle of the battle while they're waiting for the force fields or whatever those things are to go
Yeah,
across.
the thing that I loved about that part too was it showed you, in just without a word, it showed you exactly like the visual representation of both sides of the Force. You had Qui-Gon meditating, relaxing, getting himself back in touch with the Force, and you had Darth Maul pacing, getting ready. You know, so it showed you the two opposite ends that were going to be fighting each other throughout the series. So yeah, it was good. I love that scene.
Yeah.
Then you get Yoda flipping around in the next one, but hey, you know,
Right.
whatever. Okay. There's a lot. I hit a span of time there where I really despised the prequels, and then as I'm getting older, I'm like, all right, I don't completely hate them, but they're definitely inferior to me, you know, compared to the rest of the series, you know. But there's a lot of it that I'll tolerate a little bit more, except for Jar Jar. Fuck that.
Yeah.
So all right. So I guess we'll come around to me. The next one I had two of them for, and I really like this one too. Again, not a great movie for many reasons, and we can break it down. You saw it on my list was Superman Returns. On one hand, they went way. It was supposed to be they forgot everything about Superman 3 and 4, and this was just a sequel to 1 and 2, right? So he's off in space looking for whatever's left of Krypton, and blah blah blah, and then he comes back to Earth. There's a lot in there that's not great, you know, but there's a few scenes in there. I will say that looking back, I know people complained about Brandon Routh, however you say his name, Routh. To me, I think he did a good enough job to me where I would like to have seen him continue on in the role, just because like he was playing the Christopher Reeve Superman, you know what I mean? Right. So it wasn't like he was trying to make it his own. He was trying as much as he can to do an imitation of the Christopher Reeve Superman. So it was good, you know, to me. I thought
that's what they wanted
in that
to do.
light,
Right?
Yes, yeah. Now, had he been able to make it as his own, who knows? But like he's in DC's Legends of Tomorrow. He plays the Atom, and he's fine in that. He's funny, you know.
He was an Arrow for a couple seasons.
Yeah, he's a good straight man as far as, you know, the comedy goes and everything, you know. But I think in this movie, he was my favorite part of that movie because he reminded me of what I loved about the old Superman movies, right? The other stuff was just like, oh, geez, you know, like you got, I don't know, what's her name? Parker Posey running around with Kevin Spacey's Lex Luthor.
I liked Kevin Spacey's Lex Luthor.
I liked him, okay, yeah. But you had like her running around for no reason, like grabbing a dead guy's dog and taking it and whatever. And the whole subplot of the kid thing, that just like, you had nowhere to go with that, so you shouldn't have done it, you know. I get what they were trying to do, but they shouldn't have done it. The first part that I liked was when you see him come back is that space airplane thing where Lois is on it and it loses control and she's bouncing around in that fucking thing because apparently she doesn't know what a seatbelt is. So she's like all over this damn plane and it's going to crash to Earth. And he comes flying in, rips the space shuttle, the unmanned shuttle part off and chucks it out into space. And then the way he stops it, because it shows like, you know, he can't just forcefully stop this thing. He's going to kill all the people inside or whoever's beneath them, whatever, you know. So the first thing is like he tries with his strength and he rips the damn wing off and he goes back down. And finally he stops this thing. Just that one scene kind of shows like everything. It was like right out of the comics, you know. It shows like, okay, how am I going to do this? He fails the first time. You know, he doesn't do it just like, bing, I'm done. I'm Superman. I got it. He accidentally rips the wing off and then he has to come back and figure out another way to do it. Yeah. And he slows it down and he stops it. And then he just lets it off real nice, you know? And then he does which is what reminded me of the Christopher Reeves one, where he gets on board the space shuttle, you know, he rips the door off and to let everybody know they're okay. And then he reminds them, flying is still the safest way to travel. I'm like, that was so 70s Superman. That was great. So yeah, so I love that one. And do you guys have anything out of that movie before I jump onto the second one? Because the second one was just a quick little thing. It was just one scene, was when he lands on the roof because they're robbing the bank. He lands on the roof and the dude shoots him the bullet in the eye. Yeah. The way they shot that, literally, no pun intended, but the bullet, they show the bullet hit his eye and just like crumble and hit the ground. And he just they both look down at the bullet, and then he looks back up the guy and he smirks at him. That was classic. It was brilliant.
That was a good scene.
Yeah. So it was little things like when you can show when you find new ways to show power, especially something like Superman, like you know everything about him, you know, just like the Spider-Man thing, you know, okay, you're gonna see Uncle Ben die, whatever, or Batman, you're gonna see his parents die, whatever. When you find new ways to tell these little stories, it's cool. Mm-hmm. So that, like with the bullet and everything, that was really cool. So there was a few things in there that they did that was like really cool for me, but overall the movie was like, you know,
the end of doesn't he like sort of stalk Lois Lane at the end of that, right? Like he's floating outside.
Yeah, he's floating outside the house.
Kid.
Yeah. Because that's, well, I don't know.
You can, because you're Superman.
Yeah. I don't know. It was kind of bad. Yeah. So the whole kid thing sucked. So overall, though, I guess it's not a horrible movie, but I guess you can go watch it if you want to see what happened after Superman 2 and you want to forget Richard Pryor. As a comedian, you should never forget Richard Pryor. He was great.
Yeah. You're just reminding me of something else in Superman 3. Do you remember there's a scene where Richard Pryor has like a pink cape on and skis and he like jumps off a building?
That's right.
Yeah, it was like an appropriate Richard Pryor comedy, but what the fuck?
It had nothing to do.
What the hell?
Yeah, it was just one of those. What can we get Richard Pryor to do? Okay, let's throw him off a building and skis. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, there you go. What else you got, Eric? Jesus. He wrote down a whole list and he's looking on his phone.
Yeah, I was thinking.
I'll figure something
out. For some reason, you reminded me of the Doom movie. I don't remember what the hell you just said, but something reminded me of Doom. And I was thinking,
Doom! It was the bullet count that we were talking about.
Oh yeah, okay. So it was getting me thinking that movie is awful. I think in every aspect.
Yeah,
of
The Rock should have never done that.
But there was a moment they did that paid homage back to the game where they had that first-person shooter scene.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think. I've heard other people say different, but that they did a really good job with that one little piece, that one little whatever it was, 2.5 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Where is that? But yeah, that wasn't on my list, but you just made me think of it.
Yeah, I had read on that one too, and yeah, I think I saw part of the movie, but it was one of those like so bad that I'm just like I'm done. Yeah. But yeah, I do remember that part, and yeah, it was cool. That was the only part that even remotely reminded you of the movie. You're like, oh, the game. You're like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's literally like the first person point of view. That's cool. How about you? What you got? Oh,
I could do an actual one.
Yeah, there you go.
I will not bother recapping why this movie is awful, but G.I. Joe Retaliation, did you watch? So
the second one? Yeah.
So I will start with this. I watched the cartoon growing up.
Yes.
I didn't read the comics. Never did. So I only had that for the perspective going into the first movie, which...
Let me tangent you on the comic.
Yeah, go ahead.
On the cartoon. Okay, yeah, because I read the comic and then the cartoon. The cartoon movie, right, with Cobra Law and everything, right? Ridiculous. It just not horrible, but not good by any means. But the first 4 minutes of that animated movie, are fantastic. It's like the whole battle or whatever. It's amazing. The opening scene, the revamped opening song and everything is amazing. But then it just falls off the rails, and you've got like a whole underground organization or whatever.
Yeah.
Guy with a giant worm tail and shit. Okay, good. Sorry.
Anyway, I watched the series growing up. That was I loved it. Anyway, I had VHS tapes of that. That's how much I watched it. But
me too.
Anyway, so jumping ahead to the G.I. Joe Retaliation movie, the second one, the movie's awful. I think we've already established that, but there is a scene in there where Snake Eyes is on the side of a cliff and he's fighting
ninjas.
That was like one of the cooler CGI. I mean, that movie's fairly old, but that was one of the cooler like CGI scenes that they've done with the.
Yeah,
the whole thing was pretty neat. I mean, it was kind of I guess a one moment in that movie that was.
Cause
awesome.
Even like the first G.I. Joe movie was like, man, really, this is what you did. You had all of this to work with,
right? And you essentially have two main characters in it, right? Kind of Ripcord and then whoever
Duke.
Yeah,
Ripcord and Duke, and then all the other ones are. I mean, they're like the G.I. Joe team,
right? But they're
And it was cool, even like, all right, out of that one, since we're on that one, the first one, the idea that the G.I. Joe team wasn't like the cartoon where it was mostly like American military and then there were a handful of others. The movie one was literally like from all over the world. You had that French guy, and you had this one, whatever. That was a cool concept. And it literally went nowhere. Then it just became like, oh, well, this didn't really do as well as we thought, so what are we going to do? Right. All right, ninjas. And that was the only part that was cool. Yeah, because then you had Bruce Willis in the back of a pickup truck. We're not going to go there. You had ninjas on the side of a cliff and Bruce Willis in a pickup truck. Yep. All right, so yeah. So there you go. That's brief descriptions of bad movies or whatever the hell we're going to call that.
Right.
Yeah, too long didn't watch.
Yeah. And then Bruce Willis
ninjas on a cliff and Bruce Willis in a pickup. G.I. Joe. Oh my God. Thank you. Okay. All right. One of you may throw something at me for this one. And I don't even know if I believe it myself, but it's really if I had to pick a movie that I literally cannot stand, it's X-Men Origins Wolverine. I hate this movie.
Yeah.
Really
There's a lot in that movie not to like.
Yeah. Most of it. To me, now, all right, I didn't like the fact that they tried to say, Sabretooth and Wolverine were brothers, okay? 'Cause in the comics, it's always been muddy. Like, they knew each other way back when, whatever. Someone's father worked for, like Sabretooth's father worked for Logan's father. What I forget exactly the Origins comic book, how that went out. So whoever remembers can email us or comment on this and let us know. But they were connected way back when, and it had been hinted at in the comics that either maybe Logan might be Sabretooth's son or they're related closer or whatever. But it was never really like, and then it's been debunked a bunch of times, right? So this movie tries to say like they're brothers or even if they were adopted brothers. I forget exactly what happened in that opening scene, but they talk to each other like they're brothers, right? And because he keeps telling him, Jimmy, you're my brother, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And he's going to look out for him, right? So it's Victor and Jimmy, blah, blah, doing whatever. I didn't like the fact that they were brothers. But once I accepted, okay, fine, we're going to do this, it jumps into that opening montage of them battling throughout history. And that part was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Briefly. There was a brief moment there where I was like, that was really cool for a second. And then they sewed Deadpool's mouth shut, and oh my God, and the CGI claws were not good at all. So like Wolverine's claws come out and CGI sparks, and shut up. So so the rest of that movie just went straight to shit. But there was that one brief shot of the war montage that I thought was kind of cool. But I also didn't like it because I didn't want them to be brothers in the movie. So whatever. So the entire movie's shit. But there you go. How about you guys? What do you got? I got a few more.
So you took that one from me since I took some stuff from you last time. So I will go with a movie that's... I didn't think the first time that I've seen it a couple times. I didn't think that it was so bad the first time. It's hard to watch a couple more times. But Any Given Sunday is decent. But there have been so many better sports movies that you look back on it now. It's so cliche in so many ways.
Yeah.
And that's its problem. But the speech that Al Pacino gives before they go play near the end of the movie.
It's epic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's one of those, like you said, it's not a great sports movie. If you're going to stack them up among the greatest sports movies of all time, whatever. It's but like me personally, I love that movie.
Yeah,
I just for whatever reason, I love that movie, and that speech he gives, because I read an article about that one too, and they were like, the director said, that if you're going to do anything, write a really good speech and give it to Al Pacino, because who the hell wouldn't follow that guy into anything?
Just let Al Pacino stand there and act and do a monologue.
Yeah, I would have said the same thing. Any Al Pacino speech could save a movie, probably.
Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, I love Al Pacino.
Yeah, I do too. He did a speech in Devil's Advocate that's really about nothing, but it's still like it's so engaging the way he's just like
that movie was so fucked up too.
I don't think that movie was bad. I like that movie.
No, I liked it. Yeah.
It just Al Pacino's speech though. He gives that speech at the end, and
it was really, really good.
He's really good at those monologues. Really good.
He is.
Even the worst films can have their high points.
Did you get that? All right.
Sorry. Don't stop. Trying to do some in-show research.
Yeah, there we go. All right, so we got a brief shout out to whatever channel he was watching. All right. So you took Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. We were both going to write that one. That was obvious. Another one for me is Spider-Man 3. I can't stand that damn movie. I really, I wanted to like it because they were going to put Venom in it, or they did put Venom in it.
Venom, sort of.
Yeah. There was not a good Venom. I mean, Topher Grace, really. And, I mean, he kind of played the Eddie Brock part, okay, but he's just not believable as Eddie Brock or Venom, So the whole, they tried to cram too much in there. And I realized after reading articles about it later on, what was wrong with the movie was the studio wanted Venom in the movie. Sam Raimi had not written him in there. It was Sandman and whatever movie he was doing. It had nothing to do with Venom. They wanted, hey, we're on a roll. We want to put the most popular characters in there, put Venom in it. So he was forced to. And you can tell. You know what I mean? You can tell his heart wasn't in it anymore. It just wasn't his movie anymore. So it kind of just died there. The emo Peter down the street, when Venom takes him over, whatever, and wow, that was just. I mean, now while that was like a classic Sam Raimi kind of weird montage type of thing, it was just too weird, and it was not a good depiction of what the symbiote does to Peter. He's walking around snapping his fingers at girls and shit, and he combs his hair a little way.
He just becomes douchey.
Yeah, he's super douche Peter.
You're right.
So he's not I don't know. It's not overall he wanted nothing to do with Venom, so it was shitty. But the one moment in that movie that I really liked was the Sandman origin, when he falls into that pit. Mm-hmm. And they're doing the radioactive test or whatever, and you think he dies, and then you slowly see him start to form back up, and he sees the locket with his daughter's picture in it, and he makes himself become solid enough to pick it up. That whole little mini arc right there, that little thing where he's killed and brought back as Sandman, is just really cool. Visually, they did a really good job with it.
Yeah.
And shout out to what the hell's his name who plays. I almost got his name in my head. I can't think of it. The guy who plays Sandman, but whatever. He did a really good job with it. I liked it. So, yeah, that was it for that one. How about you guys? What do you got?
I had World War Z on my list. You see that Brad Pitt movie?
I kind of loved it and kind of okay.
Yeah, I like some things about it, but ultimately I think the sort of plot that they set up, and I haven't read the book. I understand it's based on a book, right? It's based on a novel.
Yeah, the book's really good.
Because the book breaks it down by interviews, right? Mm-hmm. It's because I read most of it.
So I don't know how well the movie follows, but I mean, there's kind of
not too much
suspension or suspension of belief in a lot of things, because he's the last best hope, and then they send him off on a suicide mission. Why the fuck is he traveling around the world so he can call it World War Z? I really didn't understand. They didn't bother to explain a lot of shit that was going on, and it just felt weird and undeveloped. But what I was gonna say is there's this really cool scene in Jerusalem, and you have to forget for a minute how hell they built this wall that was 100 feet tall or whatever.
Right.
It was so fast. That's like
It was just there. Yay.
Yeah. Okay, we got it. But there's this really cool scene where the zombies are like trying to get up over the wall, and the bodies are piling up, and I mean it's like literally like tens of thousands of them before they finally like break the peak, and then the mayhem ensues. Or
Yeah, because they do like that kind of like that hive mind ant thing that they. Yeah, that's what I liked about those zombies. Again, you give me a different take on a zombie or superhero or whatever, I like it. So yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah. So that was my it's not really a shitty movie per se, but it just didn't really do that much for me, but I really did like that particular scene, and then really the action ensues from there, and it was kind of nonstop at that point.
Yeah, it was cool. I liked it. I enjoyed the movie. It was one of those like you wanted it to be better than what it was, but it was just good enough to be like, okay, I liked it. But then that supposed sequel just kind of like sat there in limbo forever. I don't think they're ever going to make that. Paul, you got anything else?
No, those were mine.
All right.
Darth Maul, Al Pacino, and Wolverine.
I got one last one just because I thought it was hilarious. And I promised myself I would never go back and watch this movie, so I went back just to refresh the one scene. But Street Fighter. Yes, the Jean-Claude Van Damme one.
Right.
Oh, I know what you're going to say already. Raul Julia.
Yeah, Raul Julia. He's your one, like, saving grace in that movie, okay?
Yeah, that movie's still shit.
It's the whole movie is horrid. I mean, again, we go back to when we talked about, like, the video game movies.
Right.
And this was nowhere near a good one. Like, everything you can possibly do wrong with a movie, just go ahead. Because it was just a Van Damme vehicle, really, right? But there's one scene in there where Chun-Li is captured by Bison, right? And she's talking to him, and she goes on this whole, like, minute and a half, 2 minute, like, just rant about how, like, he came through her village and her father, like, it was a small village, and her father led the revolt against him and, drove him back. And, like, and she was like, and you had failed, and, you shot my father as you were running away, and you killed my father, and blah, 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 whatever. And he looks at her, and he goes, I remember none of that. And then he says, and I wrote it down, he just walks up to her and he says, for you, the day Bison graced your village was the most important day of your life. But for me, it was Tuesday. And it was Raul Julia at his best.
Right.
And she played off it great. Like the look of shock on her face, like the audacity of this guy, right? Like everything to me was nothing to him.
Yep.
It was perfect. And as I was reading it, as I read the part where I was telling you about where he says, I don't remember any of that, it reminded me they played off of that, maybe not intentionally. I'm pretty sure it was not intentional at all. But in Endgame, when Scarlet Witch goes up to Thanos and she's like, you took everything from me. And he goes, I don't even know who you are.
Right.
I was like, damn. That's what that part did to me. Like you said, the rest of the movie, oh, shit. But that one scene was like, wow, what a dick. It was epic. So, all right. I think that's it, right?
Yep,
that's
that's it for me.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a nice short episode.
Yeah, I like it.
Yay.
My wife
30
will
episodes.
appreciate that.
You know what? I'm going to leave your wife and cookies joke
This is for
alone.
the commute where there's no traffic.
There you
Yeah.
go. Sorry, Becca. All right. So, yeah, that's it on shining moments in shitty movies. I'm sure we'll come back to that at some point when we have more time to do some more homework.
Yep.
There's plenty that we can revisit time and again on this one. I think we're going to jump into, like, forcing ourselves to watch a shitty movie and then come back and do a really bad
Find a
review.
bright spot, yeah.
Yeah, or just tear it apart like we were talking about before, like with The Room. We're definitely going to do that. We have to watch The Room and then come back and tear it apart because you guys are going to hate me. All right, so anyway, let us know if you guys have any other ones, like, what were some really great moments in really crappy movies for you guys. And hit us up at whatifgeeks@gmail.com, Twitter, Instagram, and all that good shit. All right, that's it, guys. Good night, Tony.
Good night, Mom.
Good night.